the brothers are going to reunite for 2 nights at MSG on Tuesday and Wednesday next week, the 15th and 16th. The last time you guys played at Madison Square Garden was 5 years ago for the 50th. Tell me about the decision to put these 2 shows on. How did this come about?
Organically, I guess, there's been some chatter here and there. And I think Derek and I were both talking to Jaimoe, and he brought up doing it again. And then it just felt great. And with all the kind of bubbling conversation, it just kind of turned into maybe we should do it again for the 55th,
Yeah, I think getting together with Warren in the studio on his record, recording that tune that he wrote with Greg, and then both me and Warren running into Jaimoe on the road while we're out on tour with our own bands. And just when Jaimoe calls, you say, "Yes, sir."
That's right.
How high you want me to jump? But and the further we get away from being a part of this band and playing that music, kind of the more you want to play it. And every once in a while, I know we would throw a song in our set, or I know Warren does it occasionally too. And you miss going back to that well. It's such a big part of our lives. And, and it feels authentic if we did 1 show on the 50th and 2 shows on the 55th, and Jaimoe's still here. And Reese Winans he was there when the band began in Jacksonville in 1969. They were the only 2 that are alive that were in the room when the band started. And then Chuck Leavell being there from the beginning. And then collectively with Warren and Quinones and me and Oteil and Chuck, and Jaimoe, there's about 125 years of service to the Allman Brothers band. So it's pretty wild when you think about how much time we spent on stage together in different configurations. So we got to the rehearsal, and within 5-10 minutes, you're like, "Oh yeah, I remember this feeling."
Right.
You look around, there's a bunch of people grinning, and you're like, "Oh, this is going to be fun."
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about Jaimoe, because he's such an interesting character and spirit. And tell me about what he brings to the band.
Well, Jaimoe is a big part of the spirit of the band, and he's the guy that turned all those guys on to jazz in the old days. Jaimoe had kind of made up his mind he was going to be a jazz drummer before he met Duane Allman, and was going to move to New York City and make a life out of playing jazz. But Duane Allman kind of interrupted his plans. So he started turning all those guys on to Miles Davis and Coltrane and
with Son Roland Kirk.
Yeah, that made a huge impact and influence on the direction that their music took from that point forward. As a person, he's just such a positive person, always in a good mood, funny, always has some insight. If you're looking at something the wrong way, Jaimoe will share a few choice words with you that make you look at it from the right perspective. He's just a positive influence on all of our lives.
Yeah, and to add to that, when I think Duane Allman saw Jaimoe for the first time, he was playing in Otis Redding's band, and Otis had 2 drummers, and that was part of the impetus for that as well.
That's the craziest thing I've ever heard of. How can somebody be in a band that long? My turn came and I found out it has to do with chemistry, knowing when things work and when they don't work. But when you have something that you do well together, know what it is. That's one of the greatest lessons, is knowing how chemistry works.
And my dad, who was around in Jacksonville when the band started, he every time he sees Jaimoe, he would always say, and this goes back to when I was in the band 25 years ago, he's like, "Jaimoe's the only one that's unchanged from the beginning." Mm-hmm. Like he treated me that way when I was 16 years old coming out to the shows, and every time he sees my father, when he sees him at the Garden here in a few days, it's going to be the same spirit. And there's something to that. There's not a lot of people go through rock stardom and the life that those guys lived and that we live that are unscathed by it. And Jaimoe he's one of those rare characters that, as long as I've known him, he's been the same spirit. And it feels like home with him. It always feels like you know where you stand, and it's just a joy to play music with him.
a lot of great times, played a lot of good music, and met a lot of great people. And as I say, if I had to do it over again, I'd do it the same way.
And Derek, your brother was part of the band last time around, right? He's out on tour with Widespread Panic now. So you bring in Joe Russo and Isaac from your band. Talk about that. Talking about, first of all, having Mark, Jaimoe, and then add to that the power of Joe and Isaac together. It's going to be like a freight train behind you. Is that what you're hoping for?
Well, Joe is there. We played with Joe, with Warren and his group at the Garden at a benefit not too long ago.
Yeah.
And that's where that light bulb went off. We're like, oh, that felt really good and kind of a fresh take on it that we've never really experienced, because we played it one way for so long. It's been really nice these last few days, just hearing a little different approach to it. And Isaac is there really kind of as an understudy for Jaimoe. And if Jaimoe wants to come and go during the set, Isaac's going to be there. And Isaac and Jaimoe have a really great relationship and a bit of a mentorship going on with Isaac and Jaimoe. They're similar backgrounds, and Jaimoe's from Gulfport, Mississippi. Isaac's Tullahoma, Tennessee, and they come from musical families and backgrounds, and there's a kindred spirit there. And so when Jaimoe brought up, hey, what about bringing young Isaac? I was like, I think that would be an incredible idea. But the idea will be there'll be 3 of them on stage at all times, and not 4. Not that I know of. Who knows? Things change.
Anything could happen, right? Just let the moment happen.
You never know.
Well, and Isaac plays with a similar touch and finesse.
He does.
To Jaimoe. The magic of the Allman Brothers drumming was always the blend between Butch playing traditional hard hitting and Jaimoe playing a softer touch, jazzy kind of approach. The way they tune their drums is completely different. The way they approach the kid is entirely different.
Yeah, and the 2 drum thing is it's unique that way, where it has to they have to coexist, and those guys have similar aesthetics. So
yeah.
Now talk about putting this set list together for these 2 shows, because there's such a deep well. Like you could really pull some deep tracks out. Is that part of the plan, or are you just sort of going to go with, the audience is going to want to hear X, Y, and Z? How's that coming together?
It's a blend. We're doing 2 nights, so
yeah. And I think the shows are going to be really long, and there's a lot of stuff to choose from. So we may wind up repeating a few key songs, but for the most part, the nights are going to be entirely different from each other, and we'll go somewhat deep, but we'll also concentrate on playing the stuff that everybody wants to hear. And so the beauty of playing long shows is you can fit a lot of music in.
Mm-hmm. So we're in for a couple of long nights. Is that what you're saying?
That's how it's feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tell me about the rehearsals. How's it going? How's it sounding? How's the band gelling?
I mean, it started quick, and I mean, yesterday we looked up and we had run through almost all the tunes way before we expected to. So it's these next 2 days will be fun, just to get in and play and just kind of devils in the details. But it's gonna be good.
Yeah, and I like the fact that some of the songs have already taken on new arrangement ideas just from the energy being tossed around at rehearsal. That's always a catalyst,
Yeah, and all the changes are organic. It's not you're not trying to shake stuff up just to be clever. It's right. Oh, you know what, whatever you were just doing there felt really good. Why don't we just reimagine it? But everyone has such respect for the catalog and the way it was done that it's done with an eye on where it started. But it's going to be fun. I'm excited to see how it evolves over these next few days.
And that makes for exciting moments for the fans too, because they get to react to something you guys are just doing on stage in the moment. And it's super exciting for I mean, as a fan myself, like I will be excited to hear what's coming down the pike.
Yeah, and people can feel when the people on stage are inspired themselves. That's one thing that always translates. If you're having a good time on stage or feeling it, that people understand that for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of where it all starts. The energy coming from the band makes its way to the crowd, and they feel it right from the beginning. I have fans come up to me sometimes and go, "Man, you guys were having fun tonight." And they could tell we were, and that energy gets passed back to the crowd. And of course, the crowd is what pushes us to go to even greater heights. Being blessed with a great audience, the music benefits in a way that it wouldn't in rehearsal or even in a recording studio. It's something about having the crowd there pushes you even further.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, I think that's one of the things that makes a great live record feel different, is you can just tell everybody in the room is having an experience. Whether it's like the film Maurice, you can just tell there were some melted faces in that room. Sure. people were in it. Or like the Donny Hathaway Live, there's times where the crowd is keeping time. It's a different feeling, man. It's a different feeling.
Do you have to adapt your your sound in the room for MSG as opposed to like the Beacon, where it's such a different feeling and sound in that room?
We've been thinking about that. I mean, once we get there, but yeah, we've been kind of we've played it enough in different situations now to kind of know what we're in for. But it's a different calculation.
Yeah, and for a big room, the Garden's actually fun to play. Because some big rooms are not so fun. And of course, with the Beacon, we played there so many times. The sound of that room was kind of embedded in our heads. But you play differently in a big room than you do in a small room, because we're playing to the sound of the room and to the energy of the crowd. Every time I've ever played the Garden, it's been really fun.
Yeah, I second that.
Yeah. Talk to me about the singing duties, because obviously, Derek, you're a lot of things, but you're not a singer.
That's true.
And so, Warren, you're going to have to pick up most of the vocal duties. Are you psyched for that?
Yeah, I'm honored to do it. Greg was such a huge vocal influence on me my entire life, and standing next to him for 25 years, I've kind of soaked up a lot of his nuances. And, I tell people that I probably learned more from Greg before I met him than I did after. And that's a tall statement, because I was just such a big fan that I studied his singing style and his songwriting style years before I ever met him. And the relationship that we had was a very special one. So I really love interpreting these songs, and I'm honored to do it.
Speaking from standing next to Warren at the rehearsals, and we did this 5 years ago, is you can feel that. You can tell you can tell Warren stood on stage with that dude for a long time, and you can tell it's coming from a place of reverence, and it's a real thing. There's some lines that Warren sings in this situation where I have to do a double take. It's Greg over there. It's kind of incredible how that stuff gets in your blood.
I think there's a lot of spirits in the room, even at rehearsal, and especially at the shows. The spirits are looming large, and that's a good thing. They're all pushing us to do what we do.
Oh yeah, you can hear Uncle Butch back there with a well-timed one-liner between songs. You can hear him back there barking at us.
I was just going to say, you both just played the tribute to Dickey. Dickey's presence and energy has to be with you, right? Like for these shows, for sure.
I mean, there's no doubt. I mean, that catalog is deep, and Dickey's a huge part of that. And I mean, I think both me and Warren, I mean, Dickey influenced our playing as much as Dwayne did, you know, and in some situations even more. I mean, Warren played with him forever, and that stuff gets in your DNA too. So he's a huge part of this thing, as is Barry Oakley and everyone else.
Absolutely.
Right.
I was in Dickey's band for 3 years before I joined the Allman Brothers, and Dickey's the one that brought me into the band. And that 3-year initiation period for me meant everything. I was so much ahead of the curve at that point than I would have been had I just auditioned and wound up in the Allman Brothers. Dickey and I had really honed our thing to a great extent at that point. And he helped me figure out how to play on a big stage, how to get a sound in a big room, and how to not play unnecessary notes, you know, because there's something about being forced into a situation where you're playing in the big leagues and in big places that makes you realize sometimes maybe you're playing too much and swinging for the fences too much, you know. And standing next to him all those years, I learned an amazing amount about that, you know. And
Yeah,
Dickey's one of those rare people that created a style, you know.
and there were nights where if that dude had it all lined up, there's nights where he would take solos that you couldn't believe how intense it could get. Like that,
Yeah.
he would dial it in sometimes, man, and it was something to behold.
Now, you guys have like an undeniable chemistry, but you add Oteil Burbridge to that alchemy, and it's something else. I mean, can you talk a little bit about playing next to Oteil?
Oteil's a master, you know. He's fantastic. There are very few people on the planet that have that kind of musicality. He's versatile, plays in so many genres and styles and directions, but he's coming from that jazz school of listening to what everybody's playing and responding to it. And he's a huge part of the overall picture up there. You know, he's very different from Barry Oakley, very different from Alan Woody, but obviously the same driving force.
Yeah, and you know, he's so intuitive when you're soloing and when you're deep into the improvisation that the band does. He can send it places, he can lift it. He can push you in a way that Butch used to push you, where, you know, there'd be times where you feel like, oh, I think we're there, but then you're like, oh no, there's another gear here. there's a sub level here to go. And Oteil's a master at that. He can drive the train. But we, you know, when we did that Dickey Memorial, it's the first time me, Warren, and Oteil had really played that way in a long time, and it was instant. You're like, oh yeah, this is fun. There's some stuff.
I mean, watching, you could see it on your faces. Like, it was written all over your faces.
Yeah.
You guys were having a good time. The spirit was definitely there.
There was, yeah.
Oteil's good at that too. You know, you'll just catch him hysterically laughing all of a sudden on the stage.
Yeah, it must be fun to be that good. Like, you're just playing and you just laugh.
I think Oteil has as much fun on stage as anybody I've ever met. You know, he lives to play music, you know?
Yeah.
You guys, Derek, you're in the studio right now, right? Tedeschi Trucks Band is recording?
Yeah, I think we just finished up. We're kind of listening to mixes and working on that this week in between rehearsals. So we're in it. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
That's exciting. And you were working with Mike Elizondo is producing, or?
Yeah, Mike, and man, what a pleasure working with that dude. Speaking of musical human beings, he's got that Oteil thing where he makes whatever you do better. It's a great bass player too, but
right.
Just ears for days, and it was fun getting in there. And it's been a long time since we had an outside producer or outside voice come in to our band, and it was he was the right guy for the job. He's so musical. He's just, he can hang with anyone at any time, and he really pushed the group. And sonically, I really liked what he did with it.
Well, I got to say, I mean, Warren, your solo record has been on my turntable on constant. The new record is really, really good. And also the stuff that you guys did together, the songs that you co-wrote together.
Derek and I wrote These Changes and Hall of Future Saints.
Right.
World is spinning round, whirling like a top. My head is reeling, can't seem to make it stop. All these changes, everybody.
It was a blast making that record, and I felt like it was long overdue getting us back in the studio together. We hadn't dived in that deep in a really long time.
No, it was fun, and Warren came down to me and Sue have a little farm outside of Macon, Georgia, and Warren came down, and just the two of us hung for a day or two, and just two guitars on the couch, and it was amazing how quickly we just fell into like, oh well, there's a handful of songs. That was fun.
That was great.
And a few ended up on his record, and I think a few might end up on ours. So.
That's exciting. You guys have both been super generous with your time. I know you've got to run, so thank you ever so much. Cannot wait for Tuesday and Wednesday at the Garden. I will be there listening intently.
Beautiful.
And cheering you on. Have a blast. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
And we'll see you soon.
Cheers.
Drive safe, Warren. I'll see you at rehearsal in a few minutes.
All right. See you in a few.
All right. See you.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.